Hello, everyone. Welcome to Antonio Inoki Part, whatever the fuck this is.
Fuck you, Antonio. We're glad you're dead and no one's your friend.
This will be a garage show, and then the next one after that, no garage.
What do you mean?
I think it'll be over StreamYard. Unless we just start putting stuff we recorded. Who knows?
Can we finish Inoki right now? No, we cannot. We are still in the 70s.
What?
Are we not?
No, we're not. This is in the middle 80s. Well, we left off
You
where...
bolded a lot, baby.
Oh, I bolded quite a bit. So I bolded where Tony Inoki... So here's what I did. I bolded where Tony Inoki...
we're using one document.
Him, like
we're using one document, and Dylan, so he knows where he left off, just bolded the part. I think there's just more than one bold.
Oh, yes. I didn't unbold the last thing.
Yeah, that's, I think, the problem.
So we have to get through 8 pages, which I think we will, because I'm not adverse to fucking skipping over some shit.
Yeah, listen, here's what no one's ever said. What was Antonio doing in 2001?
But
I assume claiming... You know, Katie Vick, I did that.
We'll put all of Christopher Hobson's documents online, and if you guys want to read it. But legit, it's like the intimate knowledge we would have to have of Antonio Inoki to kind of have the things to trigger memories.
I find
you have to take that back out, by the way.
I will in a second, but I want to say this about Antonio Inoki, which is my big lesson.
By the way, if you're listening on audio, I meant his weenie.
That's right. And I will take it out. Here's the thing: is Antonio
Open
Inoki?
Dick Garage Show.
Antonio Inoki is Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon. He is the perfect combination of both of those things. Which is, not only will I destroy you in business, I'll then get in the ring and show you that I don't need anyone.
Well, this is something classic wrestler review equated to comedy, where when I started comedy, it was you're either producer or comedian, and you can't do both. And now it's like, of course you do both. Producing is where all the money is.
What we also learned was that's particularly Canada. Canada is the weirdest place where there's there's very few opportunities, and one of the rules is no making any more opportunities. Yeah.
But that's what I was told, and Japan really seems like we talked about in the last episode, the entire culture of Japanese wrestling is, of course, you book the territory and you're the star. That's how you make all of the money.
Yeah, don't you want to win, you fucking loser?
Yeah. Do you want $10 or $15?
Yeah, I want 15. And I
want 15. Actually, that's super. Do you want $1 or $30?
My name is Antonio Inoki. Do you know how weird it is for me to eat? The way my jaw is, so much food falls out of my mouth.
It's like a pelican.
I need extra money to pay for all the extra
food. Drop it in from above.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't come in with a sandwich head on. He has to drop it in and down.
Do you know how expensive it is to find a man who will just climb a ladder with a sandwich and slowly feed that to you like you're a orca whale?
But he is the mixed... No, he's the martial arts champion, sorry. He's beating up lots of martial artists.
This is the other thing I was thinking about with
Don, get your fucking phone out.
I will out in a second. He was really smart, and this is something that a lot of the smart territory guys would do, is that they were never actually the world champion. They were perennially the TV champion.
Or like the brass knuckles champion.
Yeah, exactly. What are you? My dick's bigger than yours. Champion of the world!
Yeah, because it's sort of like The Undertaker. The Undertaker, most times, was always
where
the strongest
are we? So you're
character.
saying that we're from here?
Yes.
All right.
The Undertaker is most times the strongest character, so having him have a title is redundant. It was kind of like a lot like I thought the CM Punk thing, where it's like, I didn't think CM Punk ever should have had the AW title because it's like redundant to have a guy.
I completely agree with you.
You create more main events, kind of like what Vince would say about WrestleMania, where it's like, yeah, there's the Undertaker main event, and then there's the world title main event.
Because I can finally pretend like I'm kind of keeping an eye on AEW for the show to be relevant, when I did not watch it because I was like, I think CM Punk as a human being is a bag of shit. So I'm now, of course, because he can't get money from it, I'm now going back and watching AEW then. There's an amazing, interesting moment, because I had all of this information when it came to CM Punk just gleamed from hearing what the bloggers are saying.
Ooh.
And there was a big reaction of they're positioning him to be like Terry Funk in ECW, and in particular, Cornette said, I don't like that then. And you can see there's a definite shift in the AEW booking from how CM Punk is presented really initially early on. So it's basically like he went I'm 40 and I don't like the shenanigans here in this basement, to I still do skateboard tricks. And that was the definite moment where it shifted and he went towards getting the title. I don't think that was his plan or Tony Khan's plan. They just listened to the noise. What I will give Antonio Inoki is Antonio Inoki has never doubted himself.
Ever.
Do
you know how fucking crazy it is to be like... Imagine if Randy Orton had just been like, I'm making my own wrestling company, and it worked out.
And
that's literally what he did.
Yeah, that's right.
It was Randy Orton,
and Randy Orton's the perfect...
and just Sheamus. It was Randy Orton and Sheamus, and they were like, oh, you're going to join Impact?
No.
It's Randy
It's
Orton.
RKO Wrestling.
Yeah.
Wait, does that stand for...
Wrestling with an R. K means wrestling again. O means orgasm.
No, what-
wrestling, orgasm. You know those porns where people wrestle and then they fuck? That's mine now.
Yeah.
I RKO them both, no sex.
We're not videotaping it, and it's just all of your girlfriends.
Yeah, you get to see my dick. No.
Yes, it's thick.
Why would I hide it inside a woman? That's gross.
Let's all just count down to the fact that you want to know when the wrestler review's coming out of retirement, and that is when Randy Orton retires and he needs someone to host his shoot interviews. You're looking at the two gentlemen who will wear only plastic clothes because we will be covered in
Big
Randy's.
Pantera fan.
Of course. Only the later years after Dime died and Phil got political, he'll say.
He got fucking pissed about CM Punk having that Kill Switch Engage song too, because he was like, I wanted that shit. And I was like, this guy rules. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
I'm going to say this also. Let me tell you who invented truck nuts without knowing he invented it. Randy Orton, I guarantee, was like, yo, does this fucking truck have fucking balls, man?
Yeah, doesn't see. Also said the N word, just completely got away with it.
Does not know that Kanye does music. He just thinks Kanye
That's
is
really funny.
really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that
This
political
fucking
commentator.
presidential candidate's finally fucking saying it, man.
Also, yeah, I don't know if you saw the Tim Pool thing. But yeah.
I knew. Don't.
Within 8
don't
seconds.
you fucking.
Do the Jews
step
control
into
the media? No? Okay,
Do you
bye.
not think that
That's
I
so
was
funny.
sat with a friend who I haven't seen in 5 years, and I said, hang on one second, and I looked at my phone, and they were like, Ye is on Tim Pool, and I was like, give me 1 second, I think. And then I literally, the next tweet was, Kanye has walked out of Tim Pool for the slight, and like, let's be honest, Tim Pool's not pushing back that hard on anti-Semitism. And basically all
No,
Tim
he
Pool,
just needs plausible deniability.
all Tim Pool said basically was, please don't get me kicked off of YouTube, and Kanye left. Oh, what footage. Ladies and gentlemen, the fucking cat's out of the bag with Tim Pool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you fucking
'cause you need
moderate
those
left
guys- well,
fucking
these guys
beanie-wearing cunt.
Well, this guy needs. All those guys need plausible deniability. Anyway, take your phone out and let's talk
No,
about Big
let's
Tony
talk
Inoki.
more about Tim Pool.
We need to make this quick
No.
because we have to do another one after.
Shut up. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Antonio Inoki is dead now. The end.
There we go. Talk more about Tim Pool.
So, oh my God, I want to say his name right. So Maeda starts the UWF. Have you ever seen a UWF match?
I really have, and I have to say this. UWF is my favorite of all the wrestling initials. I love how it sounds. It's
I do. I really like that.
Isn't it real fun?
Well, it's you know the
And
weird
also,
thing.
it's-
U is good.
The U is great. Also, it differentiates you from the WWF. And also, if you want to get the WWF to stop saying the WWE Universe, make another UWF. And I swear to God, Vince McMahon will. He then will break back into Titan. You gotta fucking change it.
Well, this is the thing. What they never did with what's it called? What they never did with SmackDown and Raw was they never made them have 3 initial companies, and that's how you differentiate things. There's no the idea of like a Raw title and a SmackDown title.
That's exactly the problem with it. They should have gone. This is the FWW and this is the
You
WWE.
could do it. We could do it in Japan because Japan has like Stardom and Dream and all this shit, Dragon Gate, that type of thing. But like, it's not a tradition.
But I also like that it's
Canada.
different than the show. You're right. It should have been Raw is. They should have actually done the invasion. Raw's WWE.
Well, they were going to,
SmackDown
and then we all know that.
because Vince McMahon can't. Wait, then someone will think I wasn't
Well, that was
right.
Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn was like, "Why would we spent all this time? Whatever." Anyway, so Inoki has to leave the presidency due to scandal, and while Inoki remained a major stockholder,
What was the scandal?
Sakaguchi was running the company, and eventually Fujinami replaced him.
The tone you're putting on those names is like you don't believe that those are their real names. Fujinami.
Well, I just did not want to ruin them that much, and I probably did. Because it's hard, because like you can't put on the accent.
I know what you're saying.
Because you can't just zing it with the accent. Because also, like, you know,
Well,
Italians aren't like, yes, I went to Toronto and I saw the CN Tower. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
They
yeah.
still say it with their accent.
I understand.
Do it.
Okay, but here just
No, I meant the Japanese
That is
accent.
my Japanese accent.
Oh, okay. Hello. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I'm a saver from my racism because I don't know how to do the accent.
I'm trying to understand what the scandal was. Anyway,
I
scandal
think the
is...
scandal was like Antonio Inoki was just like walking by a secretary, and he was like, "I'm right, right?" And she was
Well,
like,
it's so many parts, and we don't know what the scandal was.
About
Whatever.
what? And he was like, "Everything." And then he burned her family alive.
can you come into my office? You've been hiding that pussy all day, bitch. That's what he said.
Of course he did.
You've been hiding that pussy behind that skirt
If
and
someone
those
goes
panties.
from pro wrestling into politics,
Release the
he's
pussy.
he at the very least is a sex tourist. At the best case scenario, that guy has gone to a country and been like, so what is on offer here? A pineapple, you say?
Every single one of his. So imagine if Hogan was still on top. He owned the WWF, and John Cena and Batista and everybody left. Here's what Hogan does. He just goes to Korea, and this is Inoki, obviously. He has the he goes to Tokyo Dome. Apologies, I skipped ahead to the Korea thing. And they have some of the largest crowds and gates in pro wrestling history. They created the G1 tournament. And instead of one star, geez, like Inoki, they had many. Fujinami, Choshu, Keiji Muto, Shinya Hashimoto, Masahiro Chono, and Leonard Sasaki. Business was good, obviously, until the rise of MMA hurt pro wrestling, followed by Inoki wanting to push people who had success in MMA fights over other pro wrestlers. We'll get to that, but like Antonio Inoki was obsessed with proving that pro wrestlers were still tough and not accepting that they were just in a different business.
I find it so fascinating because you can so see the little boy that's in him in that thought of like,
Yeah.
But if there's other tougher boys, they'll find
He is
Tony.
very lucky. He is very lucky that MMA came along in like basically the year 2000 instead of 1980, because there's no way he wouldn't have just fought like Mark Coleman and got his face put
I'm
into
gonna
his
say
butthole.
this. It's even the I don't actually. I think it's the 2000 is exactly correct because he also aged out. Like he even had to admit, okay, I'm too old. If MMA came out in 90, we're looking by 95. Butterbean will be in Tokyo, and he's just fighting Inoki in the streets.
Yes, and this is also a lot of Inoki beating Andre. Like he beats Andre the Giant in 1985.
Well, this is the other thing. Is this was the beginning of Andre. Because Andre was so the territorial attraction, as he's shutting his career down, there were certain people he basically like, of the two companies that did me the best, I'll go and kind of be like, all right, you're the star here, and Hogan, you're the star there. That's the thing of like, that's why you know that Andre the Giant documentary where it's like, well, you know what, brother, I didn't know if it was going to be a work or a shoot, like all that bullshit. And he's like, I wrote it down, then Andre did this, called it the way I laid it out. That is such Hulk Hogan fucking truth. It's so not true. It was, they went into the ring, Andre knowing I'm in a different segment because my back doesn't work because I'm the world's biggest alcoholic who occasionally does some physical exertion. The party's over. Like we're within, by the time within a year of the Hogan match, Andre's no longer allowed to do singles matches in the Fed. Like, so yeah, he loses to Inoki because he's in New Japan.
He also is around the same time. Like his final feud with Inoki is 1986. So it's like he jobs to Inoki just before he
heading
jobs
back to the Fed to job to Hogan.
Exactly. And that's kind of, once again, that's kind of something that's kind of ruined by today's wrestling, where it's like you can't have that.
Well, it's
like
also
everyone would have known he would have lost twice to Inoki.
Exactly. And it's the idea if you look back and
actually beating Andre via submission using an armbar 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So that shows you how they got it fast because yeah. And this is like, okay, the UWF has all my young wrestlers. You guys are doing some huge gates. That's cool. I just beat the guy who no one's ever jobbed to.
Yeah, my name is Antonio Inoki, and all I do is win or change the rules so what looked like a loss to you was actually a win.
I didn't know anything about this other than like listening to New Japan podcasts and having people say Inokiism is dumb because of like how he almost ruined New Japan in the 2000s. But like I still think this is cool. 1986, he beats Leon Spinks, who was an Olympic boxing champion. Yeah.
This is something that like.
And then a year later, Mike Tyson knocks his brother out so bad.
Leon Spinks' brother or Tony?
Michael Spinks. He knocks out Michael Spinks so bad that it's like 8 seconds.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not. It really is.
No
bad.
one remembers because Mike Tyson unfortunately did us all a disservice by not dying in the 80s.
That's true.
Because
that is true.
He fucked
or
up
retiring. That's the less violent version. If he would have just been
No,
like,
he
my
had to have
trainer is
died.
dead, I'm going to
Because
retire.
the problem also with Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson's still doing mushrooms with podcasts on with Alex Jones. There was that.
I would say
that whole time he went.
podcast is very. Have you seen the Mike Tyson podcast?
Yeah, it's loose. It's more
It's
like
just him lying there like a
on
blanket.
mushrooms.
While other people are like, so Mike, how was it to fight? And it's like the Mike Tyson podcast is the only podcast where it's like the new guest gets to interview the host. Like it's.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebrity podcasts like that, but I have to say I was watching the Mike Tyson podcast, and it's when I learned that they've now got smokable mushrooms, and I was like, oh, we're in fucking trouble here.
This is fucking great. So he has a match against. Pardon me, just one sec. Obviously, the match against Spinks. Fans saw Maeda as the star of the promotion, and years earlier, Maeda had been the chosen one, not Fujinami, to take the top spot when it was time to move Inoki out. Many fans felt it was that time, but the TV ratings were so much stronger for Inoki versus Spinks, doing 30 million viewers, that the change didn't happen right away. However, Inoki versus Maeda was the biggest match they could put together. They booked the match, sold it out immediately, and it was the most look-forward-to match since the Brody series. We didn't talk about the Brody series, but basically, Bruiser Brody was up to his old shenanigans.
Come on. What was he doing?
He was asking
Getting
for more
stabbed?
money. It was changed to a 5 versus 5 match because they couldn't agree on a finish. And then in 1987, Inoki had a major program with Saito. So I just don't see, obviously I wasn't a Japanese man when I was 2. So
What?
I don't understand what was happening. Like, there's intimate knowledge. We talked about CM Punk, where it's like, I can tell you there's a before and after with CM Punk in AEW, and it is the Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
Because that was a step too far, where it's like, why would you put this like 100% babyface and try and make Eddie Kingston a heel when it's like everyone loves Eddie Kingston so much and loves that story, and then having Eddie Kingston say things that like in that promo were clearly from his heart.
I completely agree.
Where it's like
I haven't
now
gotten
you're
to
like
that.
the guy. It's worth it for you to watch that because that is a major before and after where people start hating CM Punk. Not hating, but start disliking. The seeds for CM Punk, dislike of CM Punk are sown in that moment where it's like clearly Eddie Kingston is speaking. If nothing else, everyone's like, this guy speaks on behalf of the locker room. No one is jealous of him. Everyone's excited that he's finally getting his shit together and being successful. And he's basically like, CM Punk, you are the reason that I hated myself for like 10 years. And that's like pretty much the promo. But he's supposed to be the heel. And then CM Punk basically plays kind of like a soft heel, but just wins clean.
Yeah, it's basically what this is an interesting sort
But anyway,
of
that's
distinction.
what I'm saying.
Hang on,
I don't have that intimate knowledge.
Let me
about
relate
Antonio
this back
Inoki,
to Inoki. I can.
Sure.
CM Punk is very much playing a Generation X guy to Eddie Kingston's millennial, and Antonio Inoki. So culturally and from a fan perspective, the way CM Punk is playing it, that could have been a babyface reaction at some point, but the way Eddie Kingston plays it, even though he's supposed to be the heel, he comes across like the babyface. Antonio Inoki, for all that you can say about him, he understands that he comes across like a big, strong, patriotic symbol of Japan and he's a big, strong, like, look at this big guy. He's winning fights. He's beaten Muhammad Ali. He beat that Spinks boy.
He beats everybody. And we're about to come across something very, very, sorry to cut you off, but very, very important, which is, so October 4th, and this is such a good idea. October 4th, 1987, him and Saito have the longest match in Japanese pro wrestling history. 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Come
2 hours,
on.
5 minutes, and 14 seconds. It's called a Jungle Death Match. It happens in front of just a couple reporters and some television production people. Inoki chokes Saito out, and then coming off of that, December 27th. Apologies.
Thank you
This
for
is right
apologizing.
after this. This is right after this. He loses in 2:49 to who? 2 minutes and 49 seconds. He loses to
Rey Mysterio.
Vader.
Come on.
This is the Vader debut. Big Van Vader.
Holy shit. That's how you fucking put over Vader. The guy who beat
Immediately.
everybody, who beat him? He's wearing a weird metal mask.
Immediately, too. Like, what an amazing idea.
It's such a
Obviously,
great way.
Inoki gets, but that caused a fucking riot. People were
of course it did.
lighting their fucking seats on fire and throwing them.
It did a double thing too, which is it also fucks over Vader. It also makes it New Japanifies Vader. So it also makes Vader not a commodity that would work in all Japan because you already know what's going to happen.
I don't know. I feel like that you could totally
I
just
guarantee
put.
Antonio Inoki thought that, though. He's like, if he beats me, he'll have to stay here. Do you know what I'm saying?
They were literally banned from Sumo Hall for 1 year
That
because
is
of this fight.
fucking awesome. I never knew that's how Vader got over in Japan. Brilliant. When Vader had the more intense black and red mask, oh, fucking Vader rules.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you like the mask or the muzzle? I like the muzzle a lot.
Which one's the muzzle? I think is the one like it's.
No, the muzzle is what he wore in WWF and towards the end of WCW.
No, I like the mask more. I think that's scarier. I didn't like the muzzle.
Really? Well, here's the other thing is he's in way better shape in the 80s.
Yeah,
because he's just like, and then in the 90s he's like, wait a minute, I do what? Or,
like I love.
Fuck
like
this.
I gotta tell you, my favorite Vader is that super early WCW, just kicking, like just beat the fuck out of people. Like the Ric Flair Starrcade match, which is I think high watermark for Ric Flair, is just watching. It's one of my favorite type of wrestling matches. Your dad versus your stepdad.
So Inoki's body starts breaking down in the late 80s, and he loses his martial arts title in front of 43,000 fans and here's this. Let's go, buddy.
Let's fucking go.
Shota
Come on, get after it.
Khachiashvili,
Woo!
who was a Russian bronze medalist in the 205 pound weight class in
Where is
judo.
he finding these guys? Like
He's the Olympian. He's literally he's paying Olympians. This guy was an Olympian 17 years ago. He goes, hey, do you want to basically judo throw me and win? And the guy's like, yeah.
sure do.
Because, once again, plausible deniability.
You're
and
great.
The fact
It's
that,
fucking great.
You know what, Antonio, you know what I never realized until this moment? It's like, Inoki really just created the playbook that kind of WWE is using right now, but they're using it with like social media stars. Like Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. And Inoki's like, if this was like, if you just make it more serious, Inoki would be the one just. This sounds weird, but it's like The Miz is the new Inoki, and then Miz would just be like, I'm the social media champion. And he would just be beating social media stars.
If WWE is smart, they would 100% do that because they kind of need to now with Logan Paul, because it looks like they're going to do Logan Paul, John Cena at WrestleMania, and then Logan Paul's trying to push for it. But I think
they should totally do that.
It's a bridge too far. I'm sorry, if John Cena's smart, John Cena's like, okay, cool. The match is I FU him and put him in the STF.
I mean, it's pretty difficult to do that, though, because he just went life and death with your actual world champion.
That's right.
So why wouldn't you then sacrifice John Cena?
Because I'm Big Match John. Like, because John Cena's smarter than Roman Reigns. That's why. That's why.
John Cena needs it less.
Yeah, they should have done it the inverse. It should have been John Cena has a competitive match at Crown Jewel with Logan Paul, and then at WrestleMania it's Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns, and
then Logan Paul dies.
And Logan Paul is beaten within an inch of his life by the head of the table. Bloodline. What was that AEW thing?
No, it's just them. That Satnam Singh guy fucking up a chokeslam. The new Giant Gonzalez.
Yeah, where the fuck did they find that guy, by the way?
He was a basketball player for the Atlanta Hawks.
It's really weird, by the way, going in.
Like another very naked attempt for a wrestling company to be popular in India.
Yeah. They're real. They
TNA had one.
Rock King, who could forget?
TNA.
One of many Dave Lagana's grope factory.
He's a touchy Dave. Anyway, this is going to be fun stuff.
Anyone who had a podcast that then stopped in 2011, I'm going to say this right now, sexual predator.
So, Inoki beats the man in a rematch.
What?
Yeah. May 25th, 1989.
A day that will live in infamy.
15,000 fans in Moscow.
I thought you stood with Ukraine, Inoki, you fucking traitor.
Headlined the first ever modern pro wrestling event in Russia.
Woo!
He beat Brad Riggins and Masa Saito. The most enduring part of the Russian relationship was the amateur wrestler Viktor Zangiev, the most impressive of the group in the ring, who became the inspiration for the Zangief character in the Street Fighter video
Come
game.
on!
That's
I always thought
hot.
it was Boris Yukov was the inspiration for Zangief character of Street Fighter.
So this is it breaks a record for pro wrestling gate, $2,700,081. YOLO.
Would you like to know a piece of Street Fighter trivia before we continue?
Sure. I mean, we're about to get into politics, so let's go.
M. Bison, the character in Street Fighter, was supposed to be the boxer because it's just Mike Tyson. But then they were like, "Oh, we might get sued," so
100%.
they switched the dictator being named Balrog, and the boxer being named M. Bison, and they just
that's a
switched
good
the
idea.
names.
Oh, that's a really smart. That's actually super smart.
Isn't that fun?
That's really
And also, you're like, yeah, it works better that his name is M. Bison.
way better. Anyway,
Balrog, fuck off.
following in his
Fuck
father's
off!
footsteps, Antonio Inoki enters politics in 1989.
Yes, he's the Jesse the Body Ventura Hulk Hogan
He was elected. He started his own party called the
wrestling party.
Sports and Peace Party.
I knew this actually because that was like the
That sounds like you're about to
you're
fucking
about
try
to
to
start a
overthrow the government.
dictatorship. Yeah.
Anyone who aligns themselves heavily with sports is trying
And
to
peace.
peace, as long as you don't get in the way of me murdering.
Yeah, peace as long as you're winners.
October 24th, 1989, while making a political speech, he was the victim of an assassination attempt and was stabbed.
Isn't this fucking nuts?
Since Tony Inoki, no one ever truly knew whether or not this was the most elaborate publicity angle, although it
I
was covered
love
as major news.
Wrestling. That they were like, probably real.
There is nothing that makes you quickly more liked as a political figure than surviving an assassination
That's
attempt.
correct. That's how Ronald Reagan got the tax cut that has
Yeah,
crippled
man.
the American economy
Yeah.
ever since.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Give us money. We're rich. We're better than you. We'll figure it out. We're rich. That means we're
come on,
better.
man. I got a suit and I'm not a fucking bitch.
I have more money.
My wife is known as the best cocksucker in Hollywood.
My
favorite Ronald Reagan fact. Frank Sinatra once said, "Let me two things I thought when I found out Ronnie was going to be the president. One, ooh, sad Nancy's finally off the table. They've been married for years. Just Frank Sinatra's just a scumbag.
Yeah.
Two, it reminded me of that singing trick Nancy gave me, which is you chew an apple and then you eat it and then throw it up. It gives you gravel to your voice." Basically, Nancy Reagan was a bulimic who sucked Frank Sinatra's dick, is what I always took from that.
Yeah, of course she did. Frank Sinatra, also a rapist.
Do you ever
Anyway.
think that that guy I look at and I went, your dick stinks. That guy had his dick smelled like cigarettes.
I read a book on him. He was like he did some fucking crazy bad things.
Yeah, I know that guy did some crazy bad things.
He showed up to, I forget who it was, but an actress's house and said, "I'm not leaving here till you fuck me," and her kid was asleep. He's like, "I'm going to fucking scream and wake your kid up, and your kid's going to know you're a whore." And
What a
then she fucked
monster.
her.
What a fucking... Here's how I knew he was a monster, by the way. His Bodyguards book, there are almost no stories about Frank. So I...
It's just like, and
Me
then
and-
nothing happened.
yeah, and then me and Frank were fine.
October 24th, 1985. Oh, yeah, of course, did that. He became the first elected official from a democratic country to meet Fidel Castro. They had a cock-off. They had a hog fucking competition.
Did they, I
tied.
assume Antonio Inoki was like, "Fidel, the Americans will love it. We have a match at WrestleMania."
Yeah, he kept telling him that he runs WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So he met and pinned Fidel Castro.
Yeah, he met and pinned Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro considered it a handshake, but according to Antonio Inoki, he was like, he submitted. He'd let go of the handshake first.
He
Imagine Fidel Castro, who is the ruler of a nation, met Antonio Inoki, and I guarantee Fidel Castro walked out of there and
Well,
was
he
like,
did this.
that guy's full of himself.
Well, he successfully negotiated the release of hostages from Saddam Hussein.
What?
Before the outbreak of the Gulf War.
Shut the fuck up.
He just showed him the octopus hold, and Saddam went, "No."
Yeah, I guarantee.
Scared of the octopus
Do you think
hold.
that Antonio Inoki read some of Saddam's poetry and went, "This is not bad"?
I don't know what happened, but they probably we're both fucking psychos.
Like,
we both think we
I
could.
guaranty the reason why Antonio Inoki did so well, and it was like, "Oh, you think you're a megalomaniac?"
You want to pin Kuwait or whatever?
Yeah,
For some
exactly.
reason, I understand what this guy's saying.
Yeah, have you thought about giving Kuwait an armbar? And he's like, "Are we talking about the same thing?" And he's like, "I think Kuwait is a person, and I want to put him in an armbar." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah."
And now this is the crazy thing about Japanese politics I'm learning. I don't know if it doesn't state clearly if he is still in. Within the Senate, he was seen as a glory hound, 100%, who created situations to get himself over at the expense of the team, no different than his days in pro wrestling. At one point, he was a candidate for mayor of Tokyo. Realistically, he had no chance to win the election, but would have garnered a sizable enough percentage of the vote to swing it. Once he inserted himself into the race, he had to come up with a way out of it. without doing the job. Luckily, an opinion poll came out sampling only males in their early 20s who would vote for the mayoral elections. And since he was the perfect demographic, so many had grown up on him, Inoki led the poll. Right after the results of the poll were released, Inoki pulled out of the race as a symbolic winner, claiming that he would have been the mayor of Tokyo, but he had to be a senator instead.
Yeah, I had to not want to do that job anyway.
But here's the other thing. All right, so this is what I don't understand.
So what it is
you can't hold a job, obviously, if you're in public office in the United States or Canada, right?
You can.
Okay, well, because Inoki keeps on wrestling.
Yeah, you can keep a job. It's Boris Johnson, the PM, did this many times. Is you can hold both jobs. It's just like you're not supposed to. I don't.
Yeah, but that's England.
I think if you're a senator, I think you can have two jobs.
Just as long as you're not like the leader of the country.
Yeah, I think it's also that thing of what is your job? You're like, well, I work for this oil company that's in charge of oil, and also I'm the senator in charge of finding out how much oil we buy. We bought a lot of oil.
Yeah, because he's full senator. He's the full fucking senator.
He's a full senator. Bear in mind, the collision in Korea, which is what we're building towards, was done in an effort for him to keep his political seat. So it's that thing of like, yeah, no.
Well, he breaks another gate record for the Tokyo Dome, 3.7 million, 50,000 fans. Wrestling Hiroshi Hase, who would himself become a future senator. And he wins another seat in 92.
I got to tell you, the more I learn about Japan, I'm like, how did that guy become the senator? Well, it's like he beat the former senator in a pro wrestling match. And I was like, now this is a fucking country right here.
That's crazy that it's like 82 he founds his company. Sorry, 72 he founds the company. 82 he's the martial arts champion, and 92 he's a fucking senator reelect. Like that is a crazy 20-year.
I gotta tell you, on paper, I don't
62
know how.
62 into pro wrestling, like it's like completely what Giant Baba do? Just book a good company and have a wife, bitch.
Yeah, fuck. Boo!
Boo! Giant wham wham.
Yeah, hello, Giant Baba. It's me, Antonio. I've had 8 jobs. What are you doing? Being successful at my thing.
When you pee, you fucking big-headed bitch.
Yeah, you look like a puppet of a baby.
There
fuck.
You go. Push him over.
Yeah, knock him down. Cry.
I played baseball. Shut up.
Oh yeah, everyone. Your chest is weirdly sunken.
Oh, you were standing in the box. I get in the box.
Yeah,
dog. You know what I mean?
man.
That means sex with women in their
you
vaginas.
wipe when you shit, don't you? Not me. Clean every time.
Yeah, I mush it around in there. My poo yes. Everyone has to touch my poo yes.
I want the inside
of
my
cheeks. What do your
cheeks.
underwear do? Nothing. Mine absorb shit and then I throw them out every day.
Let me ask you this:
That makes me manly.
Do you have a towel taped to your body because you refuse to wipe your own ass because you consider paper, which is less than you, touching your body to be weakness?
We should have I wish we were like. We'll work on it.
What do you finish your
manlier? We need to become manlier. We need to serve in the army.
I'll have you know that I am.
We need
there
to serve
is so
in the
much
army.
tea coursing through my body. Oh, did I tell you?
We need to serve in the army.
As the rest of the review ends, Dylan and I are going to start cycling. Not on bicycles. That will end in injury. The better kind.
Yeah.
Anabolic cycling.
We need to do that.
The old
and we
Conor
need to
McGregor.
Start having guns. We need to claim we were in the army, and then we need to create a whole man podcast where we talk about like getting your tea up and just also one weird thing. And the whole podcast is just to get people to stop wiping their ass or something.
Yeah.
We sell underwear specifically that wipes your ass while you walk because who wants to wipe their ass? That's
no,
a lot
we
of
do
work.
not. We need you to join to our GoFundMe that will allow us to do research to find out if that underwear is possible. I'm going to do what a bunch of with one guy in particular.
That's really good.
In the UK,
that's what they used to do with movies.
That's
they were
also
like,
what
"Help me make this movie." Sorry, I'm not giving the money.
It's
back.
even better than that. What they used to do with comedy clubs in the UK all the time. Remember that fucking scam?
We Are Funny project.
Oh yeah, man! That guy ended up just buying a bunch of bikes. Still sent me a shitty email because I took a better gig than taking his Canada Day show for £20.
Jeez. All right.
Suck my butt, you fucking
in
guy.
In Pyongyang, was that South North Korea? He had 315,000 fans, and the only one they knew was Inoki, and it was Inoki and Fujinami over Choshu and Tenryu in a tag match. And you can see the dark side of the ring on that. Nothing weird happened, and it was good.
Yep, everything was fine. In no way is there a weird story about Too Cold Scorpio
because
and
everyone here's the other thing. They're like, well, and Meltzer always says, well, WrestleMania actually, there was 350,000 people at the North Korea wrestling event, but he never specifies they had to go.
Yeah, they didn't buy tickets. They were.
This was like, you have to go.
Yeah, a bunch of people showed up with guns in their houses and went,
yeah.
Did you bring us food? And they went, no, we brought you entertainment.
1994, Tenryu was pinned Inoki in 1556 in the Tokyo Dome. This was wrestling's first ever $4 million gate in '94.
Jesus Christ, how much money does Antonio Inoki have?
So it's kind of like the numbers clearly prove that it's still fine having him on top because they try and switch from.
This is the interesting thing
like,
is that there is sort of this reinvention of history of like Antonio Inoki, the albatross across the neck of New Japan, and it's like much like in the '90s in WWF. Yeah, we need to move past fucking Hulk Hogan. Also, guess what happens whenever fucking Hulk Hogan shows up?
Yeah, man, and he also kind of restarts the martial arts championship by beating Gerard Gordeau, who was a former UFC tournament finalist. He chokes him out, and chokes out Sting in a 4-man tournament to win another martial arts title. I would love to. I really should have seen Sting. This is a $4.8 million gate a year later at the Tokyo Dome, and I really wanted to see Sting work fucking strong style.
Yeah, I got to
strong style Stinger Splash, where I don't know, he just like jumps up and fucking shoots him with a gun.
I don't
know how
care what anyone says. Sting is the greatest wrestler of all time. How many decades and people does that guy need to fuck it? Like
Sting came across wrestling at the perfect time where it wasn't that hard on your body. He never really worked a style that was super hard on his body. He never really did dives to the outside of the early '90s, and he never started doing steroids or drugs or anything.
He did
steroids.
And
He's
he did
for sure
drugs.
You did drugs?
It wasn't that the whole thing. I don't know.
Oh, because he became a born-again Christian.
Because Eric Bischoff implies that he was having personal problems around Starrcade 97. I think what it actually turned out to be was, no, they just didn't want him to lose the belt, and Eric Bischoff can't fucking fathom that there was a moment in his life which he had just done something a bit more confidently, he would probably still own WCW.
I don't know. Sting also never specifically had like a roid head body.
No, he was much leaner. He also had
He had a body of a big man.
Here's the other thing that's really important. During like the highest money partying time, Sting's gimmick was sit quietly above the ring sometimes. Like he also basically got paid to wait,
which is something that they've never done in wrestling since, which is there was a time and
just wait for this match. The longer you
have someone on TV, but they don't wrestle.
Yeah.
Weekly television. There was a time where Stone Cold Steve Austin and Sting. No, I guess it was Sting and then Austin, actually.
No, it was
because Austin was out in '98.
And 97, but also
97?
97 was that survival.
Yeah, he broke
the SummerSlam. That whole summer, that whole fall, he has matches, but you watch them and it's like, this is
I'm just saying, when the thing that everyone's trying to get back to, the Monday Night War, blah, 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 like,
yeah,
this guy's not wrestling, he's barred from competition, but he's here all the time. Entire Monday Night Raw episodes are like, will Stone Cold Steve Austin show up? Everyone's just talking about it.
They still in many ways are that. You know what would make this better? If Stone Cold just showed up.
Tony Inoki's active career ended in April 4th, 1998.
April Fool's.
A $7 million gate at the Tokyo Dome.
Kept every penny.
Held up for 21 years. $2.6 million in just merchandise.
Woo!
30,000 programs at $20 pop. Ali was on stage at the ring entrance. The final match of his career was against Don Fry. Inoki was willing to lose to Fry, given that Fry was actually a legitimate fighter at the time. Like, he literally was. This is what Ken Shamrock wanted to do, by the way. This was the whole reason he kind of left, was if you're in Japan, you can have a real fight, so you feel like you do sports, and then also just have some wrestling matches. Like, that's how Ken Shamrock got into WWF in the first place. Before the UFC was, he did Pancrase, which was equal parts actual fighting and then just submission wrestling.
Really?
Yeah.
Fun.
So, yeah, and the whole thing, I don't know. Pancrase is a whole different thing, but it's like they had the, like...
I'm going to say this, 90% of their problem, that's a fucking shitty name.
And almost pancake. It's almost pancakes.
Or pancreas. Either way, I don't want to fucking see that on my TV.
No, because it's pancration.
Fuck
which
off.
Is the...
I don't know.
Roman word.
Oh, pump my butt.
The French called it free fighting. Which I think is
Ooh
like
la la.
Mixed martial arts. Ooh, free fighting. Oh,
free
okay.
fighting actually sounds
sounds fun.
Free fighting actually.
Oh wow, that guy's dead now.
Yeah,
that's free.
Also, it makes
Fry lost to the Cobra Twist. What's
no,
that's where you twist his balls and his dick, not just the dick. And then he nutted, and everyone was relaxed. And
yeah, if you hear a popping noise, all the men will be uncomfortable.
He had a draw, quote unquote, with Renzo Gracie on December 31st, 2000, in an exhibition match, and this begins. Inoki moves to the United States to try and set up his UFO promotion, with himself and Ali as spiritual leaders presiding over the company with Ogawa and Sayama. So it's Soitoro Sayama, the original Tiger Mask. So they're trying to do more Let's Fight, which is Inoki, like a lot of wrestlers, it's really good. Like I think Dr. Death is a real micro version of this. It's really good when it's like, ooh, this guy's real. But then it's like, this is actually going to be a real fight. Ooh, no.
Yeah, no, there's
Oh, no.
The point you
Oh,
made
no, this
on
guy's going to
on
kill
the
him.
CM Punk episode we did pre-AEW about the MMA is something that I always think about, which is people who are really good wrestlers sometimes at a certain point think, I'm so good at pretending to fight, I must know how to actually fight. And it's like, no, those are two different things.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Inoki jumps off the New Japan train as MMA got big in Japan. He worked with Pride and K1, including selling New Japan stars to those companies to do shoot fights, which they often lost. Shinsuke Nakamura becomes a star as a rookie because he lost to Daniel Gracie, but he puts up a exciting fight. Now, the Gracies at this point have like a mystique around them that like no one in the family's ever lost a fight.
Okay,
so
is this...
Even if you're like, it's the Gracie family's mom, and you lose, but then beat their mom up a bit, then they'll be like, ooh, almost beat up a Gracie.
Interesting. Here's my question. Why do some of them have very, like, traditional names, and some of them have real, like, Horion, Danny? And you're like, what the hell?
Because there's a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like if just whoever last name Hastings was like, ooh, it's the Hastings Comedic Dynasty, and then it was like your third cousin.
Oh, so I thought the Gracies were just, like, the guy and his 3 kids. I didn't realize it's, like, the whole fucking...
Anybody who's got the name, and the other thing around this time was just, like, because obviously MMA is pro wrestling, people were just saying their last name was Gracie and fighting people.
Of course they are.
Yeah, it's just anybody who's Brazilian just says their name is Gracie and gets more money.
And also in parts of the world, like, how are you supposed to tell? You come to Canada, Dylan could say I'm Brazilian, and people will be like, I have no way of verifying if that's true.
Kazuuki Fuchida and Bob Sapp have runs as IWGP champion, and they are MMA stars at the time. Inoki and his backers tried to start a new promotion. This is where it gets bad. To compete with K1 and Pride during the boom, and failed after one show. December 31st, 2003, Emelianenko Fedor was lured from Pride and beat Yuji Nagata in 62 seconds. The signing of Emelianenko led to mobsters that backed the Inoki Boomye show, and that was it. And those backing the Pride show to have conflicts, which ended in public in the Japanese media. Inoki never ran another show, and the revelation led to Pride losing television, folding, and the MMA boom in
Can you explain
Japan.
that? So what actually happened with Pride? So what was the controversy? Say that again. You just read it too quick.
All right, so they signed Pride's biggest star, Fedor.
Yeah.
And then Inoki's a fucking idiot, so he has Fedor face Yuji Nagata, a full pro wrestler.
Okay.
So, like, the best MMA fighter in the world fights some guy who play fights. I don't know. Anderson Silva faces Jason Statham in a cage.
Oh, my God. Okay, great.
Kills him in 62 seconds. I'm sure 50 of those seconds were unnecessary.
Laughing. Like he's...
Yeah. Like, there's fucking crazy shit from this time. Like, a man we all know as Alberto Del Rio fights Mirko Krokop and fights him in a mask because he's still Dos Carras Jr. and he can't have his mask off because of Luchador. And then there's a great interview with Krokop backstage where he goes, is he actually going to fucking wear that? And it's like, Krokop never emotes or anything in any interviews, but he's like, why? How are they letting this happen? I'm going to kill this guy. And he does. And it's crazy.
That's fucking
He knocks
nuts.
him out, and then the guy's like limped up against the ropes, and he just punches him in the face.
I gotta tell you right now, we all need to pray to God Vince McMahon doesn't see this, because he'll see it and whisper, I'm back.
No, Vince McMahon is going to find out that there's dialogue where they just talk about fighting with no actual wrestling, and it's called a play, and he's going to produce a bunch of plays. And he's going to think he invented plays.
Hello, Kevin. It's Vince.
Okay, how about there's a streetcar, everyone wants it. I'm thinking streetcar named cunt.
All right, listen, there's these rooms that aren't arenas.
It's the,
And they got a ring, but there's no ropes, and it's elevated slightly. And there's lights on it and ropes. It's called a staggy.
Stagay.
Yeah, which I'm not.
I'm not fucking gay.
I'm not staggy.
So yeah, these are chairs are murder on
Not good. Not good for your hips, knees, back, or torso.
Oh yeah, everything's sleeping but my mind, dog. Inoki Bumiye became a New Year's tradition. New Year's Eve in Japan is the biggest television day of the year, dominated by a concert on NHK, which does Super Bowl-like ratings. The first event was a pro wrestling event that used real fighters in 2001, with Inoki versus Henzo Gracie as an exhibition.
Woo!
Muto and Takada versus Don Fry and Ken Shamrock.
Woo!
So the problem is that, like, the farther that you get from the tradition of pro wrestling in MMA and just become on wholesale MMA fighters,
Yeah.
is that the MMA fighters are just like, I'll just kill this guy, without, like, guys like Don Fry and Ken Shamrock, who were pro wrestlers, who are like, I know how to, like...
I know how to do both. They're the versatile sort
You
of
can
thing.
trust me to, like, make you look good and then win.
This metaphor is really fucked up, which is basically it's like they were doing close-up magic, and then it was discovered you could just be a wizard. And there's this weird moment where there are guys that are like, sometimes you're a wizard and sometimes you do close-up magic. And then Inoki's like, I'm very good at close-up magic. So good, I could beat a wizard. And then it's like, no, I can't. He turned me into a falcon. Fuck.
This is real. So they go against Pride and K1 in 2003. Inoki does. Pride gets 54 million viewers and murders them.
Wow.
With the legendary Bob Sapp versus Akibono kickboxing match, which I like.
I
because,
actually
like,
remember that. This is like brought up a lot as like a very seminal moment for also Pride. Like, didn't that also in some way play into the UFC buying Pride and then the UFC being like, what the hell's all this writing that
Pride-
says we are the Yakuza on this piece of paper? And like, ignore that. I'll tell you to
Pride
ignore
UFC
that.
thing was exactly WCW WWE, which was Pride got their TV taken away because it turned out that they had like a bunch of deals with the mob. So not that specifically, but basically Pride lost all its money and was nothing, and the UFC picked it up off the scrap heap along with the fighters that they had under salary. Now, the WWE thing, like, they had way more important fighters because there's way less money in MMA.
Yeah.
So it was like they could have done they did an invasion angle, quote unquote, like way better because
Well, it's
they had
also-
like all their fighters.
Also,
except
it's
for
not
one
an invasion angle. It's like we bought this. You can be like, we bought this company, and now these guys are going to fight these guys to see who's tougher.
Yeah.
And we don't have to fake it because they're just both tough guys. They're going to fight us in a tough match. Tough, man.
But basically, he fucked New Japan with his booking, much like Vince McMahon. It's kind of like, yeah, as a wrestler, amazing, but he has all of these wrestlers fight MMA guys because he needs to prove that wrestling is a martial art. Like, after Sakuraba, who was a pro wrestler, who was like not, he was like a lower card pro wrestler, is the first to beat a Gracie, and he beats Horion or someone. No, I forget who he beats, but he beats Henzo Gracie in special rules that the Gracies make, and he beats him in like an hour. He says pro wrestling is good afterwards, and he wins a UFC tournament as well, and basically goes pro wrestling
wow.
is good, and that's like that, and that's what. So Inoki goes in thinking every wrestler is going to be like Sakuraba because like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's a lower. It's insane, but it's like, it's kind of like when Vince McMahon saw like Frank Shamrock backstage and was like, I'll just beat the shit out of this guy. He thinks because Sakuraba's on the lower card for some reason that he's gonna like his upper card wrestlers will do that much better. Thus, you get Yuji
It's the
Nagata
weird
getting
thing that wrestling does
knocked
to
out.
you is that you think that it's all like
You
you're
do literally
so
think-
convinced that
yeah.
it's fake, but weirdly you think it's real.
There's no way. Like in my mind, I still do kind of think Roman Reigns could put up a fight in the UFC. He could not.
No,
He would be murdered.
The only
He
person
would get hit so hard he would get leukemia suddenly and then pass away in the ring softly.
The only person in that I think that would have a chance in the UFC is Paul Heyman because he would be like Brocky.
Hey, Brock did great. Brock just came back, did steroids, and they were like, "You did steroids," and he's like, "Got me,"
Yep.
and then just, "I guess you're gonna have to spend me for. That's my last fight. Suck my fucking small balls."
Yeah. My voice is higher and I beat Mark Hunt. Enjoy that loss.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Mark Hunt
gone.
tried to sue,
I
and,
am gone.
and the UFC got so pissed. Anyway, so what? The
Wouldn't
best-
you? He'd be like, wait a minute, fucking minute. You put me in a ring with a guy where you're like, wow, that's a lot of steroids. We should probably do something about this test, but I'll put it over here because we got to make this money, baby.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, John.
Go ahead.
Antonio Inoki, we did 4 episodes on him, meaning he is exactly 66% as important as Billy Gunn. What do you think the best thing about him on his career is?
This guy, let me say this about an egotistical man. Of all the egotistical men, the way he is manifested, which is hire me real fighters and I will bully them, is one of the nicest like versions of that I've ever seen. He's not killing kids. He's not ritualistically abusing his family. I'm sure his kids have horrific stories.
No one who anyone writes books about is a good father or mother.
I guarantee his last will and testament involved one of his kids doing some push-ups they couldn't complete as a child.
But I think it's a classic
You can
version
get my
of,
money, but first you have to admit that I was right about your wife. Like, I guarantee that's like one of the stipulations. But I just love that Antonio Inoki, you know what he is? He's a man who's going to win. And he won. They took all of his wrestlers away, and I'll wrestle myself. Turn the camera on. Turn the fucking camera on.
That is honestly, I guess, what'd you say?
He's
What's
inspiring.
that old quote about ingenuity? Something ingenuity. Anyway, Inoki proves that. Oh, I don't have any wrestlers? Cool. Get me a guy who, and this is the important part,
Good.
didn't win the gold medal because those guys will cost too much. He beats and loses to a series of bronze medalists in every single martial art.
Yeah, what did you do? Shot put? Get in the ring.
100%.
I don't give a fuck.
Hey, it's been 17 years since you medaled bronze when I started this company. Why don't you beat me and everyone will go nuts? Because, like, certainly it's been 17 years. Everyone knows the formula. Bring in martial arts guy, convince them they're going to beat Inoki. Inoki wins.
Yeah.
And, like, just the way, like, a 2.5 or a 2 hour and 5 minute match. I haven't watched that, but I assume it's like a real fight where it's like...
It's so
No,
annoying.
but it's important that you establish that these are real fights so that the Vader thing makes so much... Like, the fact that that fight match was 2 hours and 5 minutes establishes a reason that he should lose to Vader. He's still not whole from that fight.
Yeah.
And establishes... And it shocks everyone because we just watched this guy go fucking hours constantly.
Yeah.
We've never seen him lose outright, let alone lose in 3 minutes. And it makes Vader.
It's completely. Worst thing about Antonio Inoki, you ready?
Forcing guys who just wanted to fight real scary men.
Yeah, that's right. What are you? Well, I'm the Arachna Man. Well, you'll be facing John Jones. What? We don't drug test here, too. And let me say this about John. He's on something.
Well, on the
And
other
it's making him mean.
John Jones, one of the craziest things where he said he basically was like, he did an interview with Deadspin, and you know how Deadspin just kind of had journalistic integrity?
Oh, yeah. And let me say this about Deadspin. That's gone, and I'm not complaining.
Oh, so...
So snarky.
So what they
What
did
are you,
was...
run by Dave Portnoy? What the fuck is going on?
So there was an interview with John Jones, and then he talks about how he's going to be faithful to his wife and how he's a changed man. And then in the next breath, because I think he forgot to say this is off the record, just was like, that waitress put together good. I'm going to get her number. Like literally like that.
My favorite was, yeah, okay. I got stimulants in my system. You know those dick pills at
Yes.
the gas station? I took a bunch of those.
And Rogan was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about Joe Rogan is that like he'll fucking call people out for things, except for if it's the thing he's involved with, and then I don't know.
Joe Rogan is one of those classic guys where
It's like Tim Dillon interviews where people make fun of Brendan Schaub, and he just has to be like, no, yeah, he's good.
What do you mean? When Tim Dillon, I haven't seen any of this. So wait, Tim
This
Dillon
is a
goes,
deep cut, and
that's
who
fine.
cares,
Who gives
once
a
again.
shit? They know.
Louis Gomez at Skankfest, the Skankfest thing. I just saw some quick clip where it's Louis Gomez making fun of Brendan Schaub, and then Tim Dillon just kind of looks at the ground, and then Louis Gomez goes, "You have anything to say, Tim?" No, because he's like, "I know you can't say anything about Brendan Schaub because you're Rogan's friend." He's like, "No, but Brendan's out there trying," or something like that, and it's like, because obviously. It's just funny when guys for whole thing are like, no censorship, blah, and it's like, no, everyone
has a line, bitch.
But everyone
Everyone's got a
has to
line.
protect someone's feelings at
Yeah.
some point. Not even from a business perspective, but it clearly is. But it's like, you're not going to bullshit. You're not going to waste your whole fucking, like, your life is built to this moment of, like, you making all this money off of Patreon. You're obviously not going to fucking kick Joe Rogan, who's the whole reason you have that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly why we're ending the show, is because we want to keep having money in comedy, and we know one day they're going to find it, and then
One day they'll find.
oh no,
They'll sort through all of the talk about Super Cal-O and get to the cum.
yeah, exactly, super cum low.
So yeah, I think that we can say that he's a guy who believed in pro wrestling, and when pro wrestling was the only option, that really sold a lot of tickets. But then when pro wrestling was like, hey, there's these people actually fighting each other, he
said no. He said yeah.
he
and
said, no, yeah, I would win that. And they're
Yeah.
like, the octopus hold wouldn't work in the octagon. And he said,
yeah,
bullshit.
Yeah, what octagon? What's an octagon?
Yeah. Probably CM Punk's first one. It's like, yeah, I'll just make him go to sleep in the Anaconda device. And they were like, you don't know what you're signing up for. He's like, yes, I do.
What do you think?
How come no one's ever jumped at the top of the cage? Is that illegal?
Talking to Antonio Inoki is like it's got to be one of those things where it's like, imagine just.
He's dead now, by the way.
I know, but what it was like talking to him. How are you? Better than you. Like is how it feels. Like it's just sort of like
I guarantee it was like talking to.
a politician. I guarantee he was fucking just absolutely a fucking.
They got this air of like he thinks he's better than me.
and sometimes that feels right.
Yeah.
He's better than me.
Yeah, it's just like
never
talking to
met-
any fucking asshole.
Like you. Ladies and gentlemen, go fuck yourselves. Find us on things. I'm on tour. John Hastings, thejohnhastings.com back gigs. Let's bring this back, by the way, in photos. Just going.
Yeah.
Oh, those fingers. Oh.
Yeah, buddy.
This is how they do it in Germany?
Yeah.
Uh,
This is your mom. This is my bitch. Tighter. You can use that. Bye bye.
bye-bye, my bitch.